Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another FPL team selection video. I'm really sorry if you hear a ton of background noise. I have the windows open because it's currently like 38 degrees in Madrid and I'm dying. And the street is right in front of me. So I'm really sorry if you hear that. Like I usually try to close the window, but I just like can't endure it. Yelena was like, Ellie, you're glowing. And I was like, that's sweat. Like it's bad. But hopefully it's not too bad or too distracting. But anyways, Yelena, how's it going? Welcome back.
That was the best intro you could have done. It's really sunny in London, but it's nowhere near as hot. Like the windows are shut and I'm okay. You may hear background noise here though, because my dog is locked out the room and I can just hear scratching. So no one be alarmed if you can hear some weird sounds in the background. But other than that, very good, thank you.
Oh, nice. So we have a lot to talk about. So let's get right into it. So jumping right into it, this was my game week 2 team. I think I did basically as bad as you can do. I think I had below the average, massive rank drop, which I'm really gutted about. I ended up going for Turner over Onana, but United lost anyway, so that didn't make such a big difference. Gavardiol on I played him ahead of Gabriel, and that ended up being like a good decision. I was really 50-50 between the two going back and forth. And at the last minute, I decided to play him. So that got me 5 extra points than I would have. Otherwise, it would have been really bad. But then really nothing to stand out for in my team. The only thing was a Stupinian. But basically, like Chelsea conceded 3, Chilwell didn't get any attacking returns. Eze didn't do anything. Saka didn't do anything. Rashford and Martinelli, like none of my midfielders did anything. And I think Watkins, I think he got maybe 1 goal or an assist. Double
It
check
was an
now.
assist.
He got an assist. Yeah. So I'm gutted. I really thought that Nico Jackson was going to come in clutch. He did not. um, and I was expecting more, especially because like now a lot of people are going to get onto him maybe in game week 3. And he got into really good positions. And again, he looked really strong and had some goal scoring opportunities. I think he had another big chance missed. So that was really unfortunate that he didn't get a goal. But this is what it was. I think a lot of people were in a very similar boat. I'm a bit upset that I didn't really get like anything, but hopefully we'll have a better game week 3. So Yelena, this was your team. You did slightly better than me. So walk us through
1 point. It was so disappointing. I mean, I don't understand how you can have a midfield of Martinelli, Rashford, Saka, and then having Haaland and Watkins up front and end up with 41 points and just no returns. The Watkins assist, it really helps in a game week like this where every point really does count and it helps you in the ranks. But it's just not enough. I was expecting so much more from Watkins. João Pedro being benched is the most disappointing thing. When I saw that team sheet for Brighton, I had a feeling he was going to be rotated, but I just didn't think it was going to be this early on in the season. So that was really disappointing. I benched Eze, so I was quite glad to see that he didn't get any returns because that would have really hurt in a game like this. Gibbs White, you all know I was so excited for Forest's first home fixture of the season. They were playing a newly promoted team. I thought he was going to get assists at least, but he didn't. Both assists went to Aurier. Taiwo scored the goal, and I think Chris Wood scored the second goal, and there was just no involvement from Gibbs White. One thing I will say to make me feel better about my team is I think a lot of players were very unlucky. I don't know whether that's just me trying to justify it, but I'm trying not to have, because I did make draft a wildcard choice, but I'm not going to go ahead with it. But it was such an unfortunate week. I was lucky with Saliba. Obviously, they kept the clean sheet. And then Chilwell was very disappointing. I was hoping he was going to get an attacking return to make up for losing the clean sheet. But overall, and then I benched Matty Cash, which was incredibly annoying. But I think this game week's been quite good. It's given me a lot to think about. And there are some players like Watkins, like Rashford, that I thought were going to be absolutely nailed in my team. And now I feel as though I've got a bit more flexibility to hopefully spread the funds elsewhere. And the fact that Villa won 4-0 against Everton, and Watkins only got an assist from that really surprised me. And I think he's no longer such a core part of the team. So it's a good learning process, I will say, but a very, very disappointing game week.
Yeah, and that's exactly how I'm feeling as well. We'll get into it a bit with our team selection for game week 3, but that kind of brings us to our buy sell section. So for buy, I went for Julian Alvarez. I'm honestly really 50-50 split between him and Foden. I feel like I want another Man City asset, and this would make me have a triple Man City for this run of fixtures because it just looks so good. Sheffield away, Fulham at home, West Ham away, Forest at home, and then Wolves away. And I think that arguably Sheffield, maybe Fulham might have more of the leakier defenses in the league as well. So I'm really looking to bring them in. I think they both have a goal and an assist, if I'm not mistaken. And the predicted points looks pretty low. I don't know why the the predicted points is so low. Maybe it didn't update in time when I had made these graphics. I think he's also gone up 0.1 since I made this. I think he's 6.6 now. But I'm between Alvarez and Foden, and we'll kind of get into that in my team selection. But I think if you're going to buy one of these City assets now, you get them in for game week 3 because Sheffield away is just, it's looking like such a good fixture on paper. What do you think?
I think this is a really exciting pick, and I would love to triple up on City assets, but I'm too scared that they're going to get rotated. I've got the worst history with bringing in City players and they don't start, but I don't want to jinx it. He does seem quite nailed, and he's a very popular pick. A lot of people have been talking about him this week, and those fixtures are sort of too good to ignore. So I think I think the predicted points, maybe because it's so early on in the season, the stats can just sway quite a lot. So maybe it's not really truly reflective of what he's more likely to get. But I think definitely I prefer him over Foden as well. So I think it's a really strong choice.
This is like the confirmation bias that I needed.
So after this, I'll be like, I'm bringing him in.
So let's go to your choice, Odegaard. And this is really interesting as well because I have Saka and Martinelli in my team, but it's something that I'm thinking about, like you mentioned, like, do I want to move off of these players? So what's your reasoning behind this one?
So I've also gone Saka and Martinelli. One of the main reasons I didn't go for Odegaard in the first place was he's, I think, 0.5 million more than Martinelli. And it was just slightly too much money. But now we realise that Odegaard is sharing penalties or potentially on penalties. I don't quite know what was going on. When the penalty was awarded, I was over the moon. I thought, right, Saka's going to get this in and it's going to help my rank massively. Apparently, Arteta didn't realise Odegaard was going to take the penalty. And then Odegaard just asked Saka if he could take it. And Saka said yes, which is nice to see. But from a fantasy football perspective, it's really annoying. So you want to know who's nailed. Exactly. So this is one where I definitely want double Arsenal attack. I think they're going to do so well this season. They haven't necessarily started the season in a massively explosive way, but I think they're going to continue ticking along. They've got a lot to play for. But if Odegaard has the edge over Martinelli because he will be taking penalties, I think it's better to spend a bit more money and bring him in. And then whether or not it's him or Saka, at least you're covered both ways.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. I hadn't thought about that. And it seems like Martinelli might be potentially more of a rotation risk than I initially thought. So he's one that I'm looking, maybe not necessarily for this game week, but certainly in the next couple, if he doesn't start picking up, I think I'm going to transfer him out. And speaking of Arsenal assets, that brings us to my sell. I think a lot of people are in this position, myself included. Gabriel, at the time I made this graphic, he was still 5 million. Now he's down to 4.9 million. He had a price drop. And again, the predicted points just look completely off. I don't know why. Maybe I have to change the site that I'm using because he hasn't started. He's been coming on the last 10, 20 minutes or so of the game. And at this point, I just don't think like he's going to be starting. The reason I didn't sell him yet is because since I still have 3 starting defenders in Gavardiol, Chilwell, and Estupinian. So it hasn't affected me too much other than the price drop, which is just really unfortunate. But I think if you are looking for that third defender and you still have him in your team, definitely he would be a sell for me. Yelena, what about yours? Joao Pedro from Brighton.
This is really reluctant because he's already scored a goal so far this season. His XG looks good. But the thing is, if he's going to be rotation risk, it's such a key part of my team that I think I'd rather downgrade elsewhere and then bring someone in that's a bit more expensive and nailed. And it's a really disappointing one because he's on penalties. He's a really talented player. I half expected him to be benched last week and come on and still manage to get an assist or have some sort of goal involvement, but it didn't happen. And I'm just worried that I'm going to go through a run of 3 weeks or so where he's just going to be benched, get in about 30 minutes, and that's it. And I think where it's so early on in the season, every point really does matter. And we've seen how fine the margins are with the ranks. And I think I'd just rather go in with a really strong front 3 and know that every single one of them is going to get the minutes in. And he's just too much of a risk. But this is such a reluctant sell.
Yeah, but I totally understand where you're coming from. But I also think that you have a lot of really good options in that attacking space as well. Like Alvarez, we would hope that he's nailed on, but with Pepper Roulette, you never know. Wissa, Jackson, just off the top of my head. So I think like those could be 3 options that maybe are a bit more nailed, if you will, or that have like really good fixtures coming up. That you could replace him for, or even like, I don't know, I'm considering at some point to even do like a midfield 5. Like right now I have a 3-4-3, but to do a 5 because I really like the look of March. I really like the look of Matoma. They don't have the best fixtures coming up, so maybe further down the line. But I want to see how they get on and are they fixture proof? Let's see. Because they like Brighton look really good. So you can even bring a Brighton asset maybe in your midfield.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you're right about having kind of going all in on the midfield, because I got to a point with Pedro where he was actually just going to be benched. And then I thought, what's the point of having someone on my bench for 5.6 million when I can really downgrade that place, have them permanently on the bench, and then have a really strong midfield to go out instead? And there are so many teams, Brighton, Brentford, all looking really strong and maybe haven't necessarily been fully tested yet. But like you said, if they end up being fixture proof, that's where all the points could be. And at the moment, a lot of the 6.5 midfielders are having price rises. But in the grand scheme of things, they're an absolute bargain when you compare them to Rashford, who's not returning and he's worth about 9 million. So I think, like I said, I don't want to sell him, but I think it makes sense long term.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like you look at this and you see the pink for Man United away, but if Man United keep playing how they're playing, I would expect Brighton to even go get something out of that game. I wouldn't be surprised. So let's see. So now we have so we have a new game because I felt like the one last week was like a little bit too complicated. So this graphic,
I love this graphic. This is so good.
So basically, the game is so you need a replacement. So we've gone and picked 2 or 1 player each that we think we want to replace or is common amongst the FPL community and who we would replace them with. And the way it works is however many points they beat them by is like how many points. So if Mbuemo gets 6 points more than Eze in the game week, then I'm up 6 points. We haven't decided if we're doing negative points yet.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are. Okay, decided. So, and I did, Yelena, give you 5 points for your differential pick from last week since it was a goal. I'm low key bitter that Enzo missed the penalty.
I couldn't
But
believe it. You were so sweet because Ellie messaged me and she was like, "Oh, congratulations with your differential choice." And I was like, "I don't even care. Gibbs White's had no involvement." So now I'm very pleased. I would take my 5 points. I'm very, very happy with that.
exactly. So this week we have Az joining us as the content creator. So let's go to him for his picks.
Hi, Ellie. As here, lots of transfer movement, I think, from FPL managers with players on the chopping block, a couple of players not taking penalties as well when we expected them to, which leads me to Ollie Watkins. I think he'd be a sell for me if I had him in my own side. I've been looking at one of Jackson or Alvarez. I think given the fixtures for both Chelsea and Man City, I'm going to take a punt, which I think you'll be happy with on Jackson, though. I know he's got 2 bookings and hasn't scored yet, but I think that's actually good for him, given that he's not attracting maybe the attention that he deserves with the fixtures that he's got. And I have been pretty impressed with him. So Watkins to Jackson.
Thank you, Az, so much. I really believe in Jackson, as you guys know, if you guys have watched the channel over the last couple of weeks. So I'll go through my pick now. I had Embuemo in my draft for the entire summer, and then at the last minute I said, you know what, I'm gonna go for Eze. I just feel like the preseason has been better and Embuemo has been killing it. Of course, he scored 2 penalties. We don't expect Brentford to be awarded penalties every week because that would mean at the rate that he's going that he would have 38 goals. Like, that makes absolutely no sense. But I still do think that even with the price rise at 5.7 million, he's still a really good transfer. And personally, I want to try to get ahead on him as early as I can now, because I don't want to miss the boat too much. So I think I'm going to go for Embuemo. I think he is going to actually be coming into my team, so I'm banking on that. And so that's my replacement. What about you, Yelena?
So we have just touched on him, but I'm going Gabriel out. I think there is no chance that he's going to be getting the minutes that we want. I think he might be off. There's transfer rumours, isn't there, which would explain why he's suddenly not playing. So get rid of him and bring in Chilwell. So far this season, Chilwell is my favourite player. I know we didn't do very well against West Ham. There were no attacking returns, but his stats looking really strong and he's getting really far forward. I think he's the best defender that we could go for. And I think I think I could be doing well with points this week. Let's just leave it at that. I'm feeling quite optimistic.
Yeah, I mean, versus West Ham, at some points, Chilwell was playing in a striker position. It was insane. So I fully back him to get some attacking return. I have a feeling you're going to smash it as well. So that brings us to our team selection. And guys, I need all of the help I can get. So please let me know what you think of my team, what you would do if you were me in the comments. I'll let you know my thoughts. I think I'm going to do Eze to Embuemo. Eze went down and Embuemo went up, so I'm losing money on this transfer. It's really unfortunate. I did want to wait just to kind of see how the week unfolded. I do have 2 free transfers, so the other one that I'm considering doing is maybe like a Martinelli to Foden or a Watkins to Alvarez. And Watkins actually has been getting assists. He has been getting goal contributions. But at the price point, I'm thinking, do I just take a risk because of City's fixtures? So I'm not sure if I should make just one transfer and then roll the second one, but I really feel that I want to get in on City. So I don't know, Yelena, what do you think? What would you do?
I think the Eze move is a very sensible one, but we know that as soon as we transfer him out, he's going to suddenly whip out a hat trick, which is really annoying. But I don't know how much time you give him until it's not worth it. I think it would probably be sensible to use a transfer, then roll the next one when you've got more information to go by. But I'm not against transferring out Watkins. I just think that is quite an appealing fixture. And he is one of those players, at the moment, he's ticking along. We expect more, obviously. We want him to maybe get a brace each game, and an assist doesn't feel like enough. but it is still getting points. So it's a really tough one. I don't think you need to do a knee-jerk reaction with it. I think maybe the Eze transfer is fine just for this week and then see where we are next week. But the benching situation looks great.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And then I have one more game week of data to kind of see, do I want to go Foden? I might be a little bit late, but do I want to go Foden, Alvarez, or even somebody else? And then I'll have 2 transfers, or could even do like a really big reshuffle and take a -4. So that's basically my plan. Eze to Mbuemo is pretty locked in at this moment, and I do have money in the bank. But what about you? You have also 343. You have 2 free transfers as well, and 0.5 mil in the bank.
So I think what I am going to be doing is Watkins to Visser. I was tempted by Mbomo, but I think his ownership's slightly higher than Visser's, and I really liked. I don't know. I'm nervous because I think my midfield. I'm not entirely happy with the fact that I've only got 3 players in there, but I think a front 3 of Haaland, keep Pedro and hope that he starts this game week, and then bring in Visser, I think is the way I'm going to go. Or potentially I might bench Matty Cash and then bring in Eze, have a final punt with him, and then if that goes terribly, I'll have to think of a transfer next week. But again, I think I'm quite happy to maybe just use that one transfer for Watkins, roll into the next week, and then have 2 free transfers. And I think if I do the downgrade from Watkins, I'll have about 2.4 million in my bank, which is so much money. And I also want to give Rashford another week where they've got Forest at home. But if he doesn't perform in that game, I feel like there's absolutely no hope for him. So it could be actually that I'll then rejig my midfield a bit. It's really hard because I've had so many players that I expected to do really well just completely fall apart. So I don't really know where to prioritize my transfers at the moment.
It's really hard because I think if Rashford plays as a 9 again, then he might be one of the first players that I think about transferring out next week.
Yeah.
If he plays on the left, then I would consider it. It'll also be interesting maybe to see with Mason Mount's absence, like how that affects the Man United team and the lineup. I've seen a lot of people say like maybe Fernandes will get more forwards that could benefit Rashford, but we're not 100% sure if that will happen yet. But now that you're thinking of transferring Watkins out, I'm like, do I did switch?
I had the same thing when you said Eze. I was like, oh God, I should have planned an Eze transfer.
It's so hard, but he's on your bench, so I don't feel so bad. But I think that this is a really good team. But what do you think about, do you have enough money to go Joao Pedro to Wissa?
I don't think I do. I'm not sure. I'll have to look into that because that would actually make a lot more sense than I can keep hold of Watkins. But I feel as though I was blocked by doing it financially.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember how much everyone costs now because he did have a price rise. I think he went up by 0.1 million.
That 0.1, yeah. So he's 6.1 at the moment. So I think you're 0.1 off.
Oh,
I think you're 0.1
it's always
off.
the way.
Even though Joao Pedro went up, I think he has to go up again for you to be able to sell him.
Can everyone transfer in Joao Pedro and then
yeah.
I'll be able to do my transfer?
The power of the stream.
But I should have hyped him up more.
But I really like your team. Let's hope that we have better game weeks. Thanks so much for joining, for co-hosting again, and so many trucks. Let everybody know where they can find you.
I am on Twitter and YouTube and TikTok at Yelena FPL.
Well, guys, thanks so much for joining. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that it was helpful to you. Let us know what transfers you guys are thinking of making. And make sure to tune in to our deadline questions video, which will be out Friday morning as well. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Follow Yelena and I on socials. You have everything down in the description box down below. And hope you guys have a great rest of your day, evening, whatever time you're watching this. Until next week, we're out. Bye.
Bye.